Alright, testing. Is the stream still buffering for anyone? Okay, some technical difficulties. I'm sorry. Let me just check. It was working earlier. What happened? Okay, does the audio actually work for anyone? Yes, it's YouTube side. Okay, my stream is actually running fine. Connection's excellent, but the yeah, YouTube side might have some trouble. Okay, I'm gonna drop a link and see if Twitch is any better. Okay, so Twitch is actually working fine. Um, alright, so for those of you who have trouble, oops. Alright, so for those of you who have trouble, oops. Okay, is my audio working for anyone? Okay, Twitch is actually working fine. So if you are on Twitch, can you just let me know in the Twitch chat? YouTube is having a technical difficulty at the moment. So yeah, maybe Twitch would be a better option. You don't have to have a Twitch account. Right, there might be a high traffic on YouTube today, so the streams are all broken, the site is broken, but I will be checking the chats on both ends. You don't have to have a Twitch account to view Twitch, so I will drop the link again. Oh, you can hear me, but you can't see the screen? Okay. Alright. Uh, how am I supposed to do this? Okay, so I will. Yeah, YouTube isn't feeling well today. I will still like on both sides. Just for those who actually, you know, drop by YouTube and stuff like that to see. Yeah. Oh, Nice to see you there. Okay, so most of us have already moved on to Twitch. So yeah, I will be replying comments from below. Sasha, please click on that link. All right, so we're abandoning YouTube for the first time in all my live streams. Okay, we're 5 minutes late into this starting, and this is kind of awkward, but I will start now. So, welcome guys to the live stream. It's going to be an interview with AimeeLynn. I hope I got that name correct. Okay, so for the rest of you who cannot make it, I'm so sorry. I will do my best to upload the video on Twitch, from Twitch to YouTube. If you cannot view this, there's really nothing I can do at this point because YouTube is not responding to me. Right. Okay. So, without further ado, so this is AimeeLynn's Instagram page. If you have not followed her, please do. So she's a traditionally published romance author, but she currently moved to web novel. And these are some of her works. So today we're going to be visiting one of her favorite works. She will explain it to you a little bit. So without further ado, let me call AimeeLynn and invite her on stream. Hello. Hey,
Yes.
welcome back.
Good. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Right, so this is your author, Amy. Okay, for those of you who still have problems with YouTube, please move to Twitch. Yeah, YouTube is currently up again. So it depends on where you want to go. I'm not very confident in YouTube's connection tonight, so there's something going on. But it's not on my side, it's YouTube side. So either way, I will still check the chat. Right, so sorry about that, Amy. Okay, so
That's no problem.
I just introduced your Instagram page to the people. So yeah, it says that
Thank you.
you were a traditionally published romance author, now web novel. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about this story?
Sure. I was traditionally published actually in young adult romance back in 2014 for the first time and 2016 for the second time. Um, and I have dabbled in a bunch of other things since, and including self-publishing, and never really found my spot. And so last year I was invited to join Web Novel, and I had never tried serialization before. So I had a little bit of a rocky start, a couple books that I had written previously that I put on Web Novel, and they weren't quite right. But earlier this year, my editor told me that they were doing a trial read for originals and that I should apply, but that if I wanted to, it had to be a new book, and it couldn't be the one that I was planning for Spirity that she and I had already been talking about, because it would be uploaded a month, 2 months early. Um, and so I literally, over the course of, I think it was about 2 days, sat down and went, okay, so we talked about what genre would be good, and she wanted me to try fantasy because I hadn't done fantasy on the site yet. Um, and this is what this was my idea, and she encouraged me towards it. And so to this day, I tell everybody, because this has been my most popular book so far, I tell everybody that you have to blame Miss Linda, because this book literally would not have happened had she not come to me and said, I think you should apply for this. So it was an on the spot. It happened really fast. Normally, when I come up with a book, I take a lot more time for it, but this one really hit me and it was fun. So I gave it a shot, and here we are.
Islinda is the MVP among all the content editors. Don't tell the other editors I said this, but I really think that Islinda goes really all the way out for all her authors.
Yes.
And well, some people complain about her, but mainly because they are being assholes in the first place. Okay, Just saying, my channel is not child friendly, so I can cuss. Okay, don't tell me that I'm cussing. I know I'm cussing. All right, so Islinda is the only editor I ever wrote romance for, heterosexual romance, just the contract under her. That's how much I love Islinda.
Yes, I love her too.
Yeah,
She's
she
been very, very good to me.
yes, she takes care of all her authors very well. So yeah, if you are new and you're considering wanting the contract with web novel, try and aim for an Islinda. Everybody needs an Islinda. Except that, lately she's been through some tough times. That's why she's taking a lot of offs and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of sad. And then she went to like the hospital once because she almost had an heart attack. So that was worrying. Yeah.
Yeah. The editors are under a lot of pressure.
Very, because of the spirity competition. It's like what, 800 books or so I heard. Was it 600? I can't
Just that
remember.
was it was 800 just in the first couple of days. So there's
Yeah.
been more
Mm-hmm.
since. There was over 800, I think, in the first 24 hours.
That's right.
So yeah, it's been crazy for them since when did we start? The 1st of April, I think it was.
It was 31st of March. It was like the last day of March.
That's right. Yeah.
It's been two
So yeah, it
months.
was
Mm.
pretty nuts.
It's still pretty nuts.
Yeah. If anyone is in the YouTube chat, I'm sorry, my computer's not even letting me into YouTube now. It's not loading it up. So that's why I'm not chatting there anymore. I am in Twitch. Um, so if you're wondering why I stopped talking to you, that's why.
Okay, it's okay. So if I see any comments from my back end, I will relay them to you from the YouTube side and the Twitch side if I see any. Okay, so this is her Instagram.
Awesome.
Please follow her. Okay, and then we'll go to Amy's
Yes,
web
please do.
novel profile. So this is all her, her Discord, her Instagram, her everything. And then these are her original works. So you said that there was some that you moved to web novel, the books, but they didn't do really well. So would you like to share with us which was your first book? I see you have one, two, three, four, five. Five works so far.
Yes, so that one, My Hollywood Ex-Boyfriend Wants Me Back, that was originally a self-published novel called Love Out Loud. Um,
Hmm.
and that was the one that they saw and invited me to bring to web novel. And because once I got an understanding of what was going on there, They Both Love Me, but One is a Devil, that was originally called Bound, and it was already written and edited, and but it hadn't gotten a contract for traditional publishing. It had been sitting on my computer for like 4 years. Um, so I thought, well, why not? Because this Linda was like, if you've got anything, we'll take it. So I actually got contracts for both of those really right off the bat. But they're written for a Western audience and they're not written for serialization, and it paces differently.
Mm-mm.
So neither of them, oh, hi, Mamluka. Um, Neither of them did very well, and I wasn't unfortunately able to finish the third volume on either of them because they just weren't making enough income to pay for the hours that it took to write them. So I ended up giving both books like a summary outline for their third volume just so people could know how the stories ended. And I did a Q&A with a couple of my readers in my Discord and posted those as well. So yeah, so both of those people have found them since and read them and enjoyed them, but they are not my popular books on web
Mm.
novel.
Would you like to like let us know like roughly the word count for both these words? Is it like 120K or like, because web
Oh
novels
gosh,
are
you know
very
what
different.
Yes, they do. So both of those, when I came, I had only the first volume written, which was around 100,000 for each of them, I think.
Mm.
Now, the Devil ended on about 210, and My Hollywood Ex-Boyfriend Wants Me Back was around 200,000.
Mm.
So they're long. There's a lot of material there, but like Beast, for example, is already at 240,
Mm.
and we're only in volume one, so it's probably going to double that at least, um, with what I'm planning to do with it. So
Mm.
yeah, this is all new for me. This entire format and platform and everything that's happening, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a really, really good time.
Okay, so from traditionally publishing to self publishing and now to web novel, how would you explain the transition through all of these?
I'm really glad that I started in traditional because it gave me very, very solid writing skills. And I'm very blessed personally that I have been typing for over 30 years. So I'm a very fast typist, which when you're a writer is really helpful. And I've always been a fast writer, but I've also always needed to do a lot of editing and revision. So for my traditional books, I would draft them. Usually I could do that in 2 or 3 months. Back in those days, I thought I was
Mm.
doing really well to write 3 or 4,000 words a day. And I had friends that thought I was amazing for writing that many words a day. Um, but but the book would then spend close to a year in editing and revisions, and I worked that way for almost a decade. So I gained a lot of skill in how to write in a way that connects with people emotionally, because that's what I wanted to do. And so then in self-publishing, I was able to use that to write books that didn't have a ton of editing issues, but I did actually pay editors to proofread and stuff like that. Coming into web novel, um, it's what I had to unlearn um, a lot of rules, so to speak. So there's a lot of storytelling rules for traditional publishing um, around the structure of the book, like how the world building is done and when how a book begins for me was the hardest part because traditionally books begin much slower. There's a lot more world building and a lot more getting the reader to connect with the characters so that they care when you bring about this big conflict that sort of sets the story off. But at web novel, I learned with this Linda's help and some other authors that really you're starting the book at that moment of conflict and you're building the world as you go. So it's a very, very different type of storytelling and it's a very different pacing. And and I had to learn that. I had to learn how to do that. And I'm still learning how to do that, but I'm getting better at it. Once you get people in a web novel and they're hooked on it, you can get away. What I'm finding is you can get away with a lot more. So I'm falling back into more traditional storytelling as the book goes on, and nobody's complaining about it. So it's really, I think, that first sort of 50 to 60 chapters needs to be very, very hooky and very much based on getting the story going. But I'm thankful that I have the background that I do because at this point with web novel, I mean, I'm writing usually between 6 and 10,000 words a day now because I'm doing it across 3 books. And so now I have to basically, I can write it and I can revise it once and then it has to go. It has to be published. And the only time I'll go back into it now is if I've had some inspiration further down the line and I need to change something to make it connect with an idea that I've had later, because that is a downfall of serialization is you don't always know everything that's going to occur before you have to write the beginning. But I do a lot of detailed plotting and planning ahead of time, which also helps me. And that was a skill I learned in traditional as well, is how to structure a story, like how to tell a story. Um, and I think that not allowing myself permission to have filler chapters and not allowing myself to have permission to have, we're just going to fill in some word count today because we have to, making sure that every chapter is actually moving the story ahead and developing the characters. I think that's why this book is connecting so well with people is because they're enjoying the relationship between the female lead and the male lead. Um, and so far, I've been able to keep up the pace. We'll see how it goes. There's definitely a lot more demanding in terms of output,
That's right.
but
That's
we'll
right.
see.
Right. So webnovel is actually a Chinese company owned by China, registered in Singapore, the country I'm from. The culture here is slightly more different. So I understand where you come from when you say it takes a year to publish a book, because that was where I started. I was self-published as well. So for those of you readers in the chat who don't know, self-publishing and traditional publishing is very much, I won't say relaxing. I'll say it's how to say, it's demanding in the quality that you deliver. That's why you write less but you edit more, and you are constantly changing, and most times you find yourself rewriting something as you read. You read a lot. Mm,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, I would agree. And in fact, that's been hard for me with web novel is when I do go back into chapters now, I know I could do better. And that's sometimes I've had to give myself permission to not do better because you just can't keep the story moving. I
Mm,
cannot tell you how fun it is for me to be talking to readers while they're reading the story, because that's with traditional and even self-publishing, they've got the whole thing. You don't hear from them usually. Well, often you don't hear from them at all, but when you do, they've read the whole book. And so they're coming to you at the end, having seen how everything concluded. And that's the point where your conversation begins. Here, I get to watch people go through the story, and it's the most satisfying and exciting thing to me. I can't even tell you. It is such a joy. And people come into the comments, and I have to be really careful because of course I know I write ahead, so I know what's happening on the
spoilers.
31st of May, on the 7th of June, and they're asking questions about things that are going to happen later. But it's just it's literally the most fun I've ever had, I think, with writing because people are so invested, and and I just it's what I always dreamed of. It's what I always wanted to see was other people excited about my characters and talking to each other about them and talking to me about them, like, because they're real to me. They're like friends. They're people that I think about all the time. So being able to have conversations where people are like, so what made them do this at this point? And I'm just like, yes, let me talk to you for 35 minutes about that.
Yeah, so spoilers can be a real thing. Okay, so for these spoilers kind of thing, are you an author who likes to spoil your readers ahead if they ask, or do you like say, "Oh, sit tight and just enjoy"? How is that one?
99% of the time, I will not spoil. The
Mm,
the vast majority of the time, I will not tell people. There's two times when I'll tell them. One is when they're going on a route or they're afraid that we're going on a route with the story that we're not going. Because I've learned over the past few months that there's some sort of very common plotting techniques that are used on web novel that
mm,
some readers don't like. And sometimes a beginning of a conflict or something in my book, they'll be concerned that it's going to go in one of these directions. So if they're thinking, I'm trying to, I can't, my mind's going blank on examples, but basically if they're thinking that oh, I remember I ended up putting a comment in a chapter on my CEO book, Secretly Loved by the Dangerous CEO. We call it the Dangerous Book. And it's very dark. It's much darker than Beast, because the character is much darker. And at the beginning of the story, it takes a lot longer for the two of them to actually solidify their relationship. And early on, some readers thought I was going to turn the female lead into his mistress so that they wouldn't be together. He would be with somebody else, but she would be the woman on the side. And I never had any desire to do that. So I actually, once I got the plot to a point where it wasn't going to spoil things, I put a note in the chapter. I said, I want you to know you don't have to worry about that in this book. And in the comments earlier, when people were like freaking out, please tell me you're not going to turn her, because she's very strong, and they didn't want to see her put in this sort of lesser position.
mm.
So I was telling people in the comments in the lead up to that, no, you don't need to worry about that. Like, sit it out, you'll be fine. The other thing is there was one time on my Discord, I did what I called a spoiler Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
because I just felt like talking to people, and there was a lot of things going on in the books that people were wondering about and questions that I had been being asked during the week. So I said, okay, just for one day, I'm going to answer your questions. But if they're like super spoily, I'm going to answer them in direct message. And where I answered spoilers, I have in my Discord, I have rooms that are specific for spoilers so that people who are later in the book can talk about plot. We don't talk
Mm.
about plot in the chat rooms because new readers are coming in. So on that one day, I said I will answer your questions, and I had only one question come up that I was like, oh, I don't want to answer that one, but I did. I put a warning ahead of it and said if you don't want to be spoiled, don't read this. And I put it where it blanks out the text, so you have to click on it to read it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people ended up actually reading it, but now that we're getting to the point in the story where that question is being answered, people are remembering. And somebody commented on it today. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, it's fun. No, I normally it goes against because part of the beauty of a book is the tension of not knowing where it's going. Are they going to live? Are they going to get together? Is that person going to do that thing? Like that's what makes people keep coming back. And if you give them those answers early, it loses its tension, and I don't want to spoil that for them, but I also don't want to spoil it for me. It is so much fun having people come in when we've had this big plot arc come to some kind of conclusion, and they're freaking out about it, and I'm just at home in my chair just like, this is awesome. Like, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm addicted to this at this point. Fantastic. I love it.
Mm. So it's kind of like the same thing when someone sees a book and then tells you, "Hey, this should be a movie. I'll watch it. Otherwise, I won't read it." That kind of feeling. That do you have those kind of feelings before, like when someone asks for spoilers?
Yeah, it's hard because especially when somebody does think that the story's going somewhere that I know it's not going to go. Um, there have been a couple of times. There was on one of my early books, there was a reader, because there's a love triangle in that story. There was a reader that was convinced, utterly convinced, that the protagonist was going to go with one of these two people, and it was the wrong one. And I don't have an issue with people being wrong, but she was in comments telling other people this. Oh, no, 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 don't think that that's going to happen because of this, 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 and this. And she was wrong. And I was sort of sitting there going, what do I do? Because she was also really upset about it. She wanted what she was saying was going to happen, was what she wanted to happen. And she was very angry about the idea of it not being the one that the female lead chose. And I was worried she was going to spend a bunch of money reading the book and then be disappointed. So I said to her in the comments, hey, why don't we have a direct message conversation, and I can sort of tell you where this is going, because I didn't want to put it out there where other people could see it, but I didn't want her to spend however much money she was going to spend to get there and then hate it. Um, but she was like, I think she thought that I wanted to like argue with her about it, and I didn't. I was like, I'm trying to save you money. Um, she was like, no, I don't want to do that. I was like, okay. Um, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard when people either tell you that they like it, but they just don't have time or something like that. And I'm like, well, you can't really like it very much then. Or they say, they want to see something happen that you don't plan to do. That can get a little bit uncomfortable.
Mm.
But I've been writing for a long time now, so most of that stuff just kind of, it's water off a duck's back at this point. I feel bad for people when they're disappointed, but I have to be true to, I write for myself. Like the books that I write, they're written for a reader who likes the things that I like. That was what I was trained to do, and I'm really glad that I was trained to do it because that's why it's rewarding. So
Mm.
when other people like the same thing I like, it's a lot of fun.
Mm. Okay, so what are some of the things that still bothers you? Because you're very experienced, you have 30 years of experience, and most things are like, yeah, been there, done that, and just move on. What are the things that really get to you though? Because web novel has a very different society. compared to the publishing industry.
Yes. I just want to be clear. I've been typing for 30 years. I've only been writing for 12.
Ah.
I wrote my whole life, but in terms of studying and trying to do it professionally, I've only been doing that since 2009.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, web novel. I'm sorry, you were asking what is still difficult to deal
Mm.
with?
Correct.
Um, it's hard when it's never easy for any creative person when somebody is super critical or just like I had one person and I actually really like her and enjoyed getting to know her better. There was somebody who was commenting and criticizing one of the characters for the choices she was making, but criticizing her in a very juvenile way, and over and over and over and over again, chapter after chapter after chapter. And at some point, I was like, why are you still reading this book? Like, I don't understand readers that come in and chapter after chapter after chapter tell you it's wrong, it's bad, this character is stupid, or this character is making dumb decisions, or whatever. Because for me as a reader, if that was the experience that I was having, I wouldn't keep reading. Like, why would you keep reading something that's aggravating you that way? So I don't that gets me because it confuses me. I don't understand why people do it.
You've never met this kind of
Um,
people?
but what's that?
You've never met this kind of people before in real life?
Well, yes, I have. I shouldn't say I don't. Okay. I understand what people are getting out of it when they're that kind of person. Like I understand the psychology behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, to pay money and spend a great deal of time um, in that way, and they weren't. It's not like they were getting into, you know, nothing toxic was going on. It wasn't like people were conversing about it and getting angry. There was none of that. But it's happened a few times where people just continually coming in, and even though I understand the psychology of it, it to me it seems like such a waste of your own time and energy, and such a negative way to experience the world that I just kind of throw up my hands and go, I don't understand you. I mean, I get it in concept, it's been explained to me, but I do not understand if that's the way you want to spend your time. I cannot relate.
Mm. Okay, hey, maybe next time you can, let it not affect you so much and just be like, thank you for the money, thank you for the spot. Yeah, just move on because, like,
I
n-
see, that's the thing. I feel terrible that people are spending money. I wish that I was like rich and I could just do this and people could just come in and read it. Like I really truly wish that it could work that way. It can't. I have to earn. I can't spend these hours that I'm spending without earning. Um, but it's something that I really struggle with is the commercial nature of it because I don't want. Well, there's two sides to that. I feel bad that people have to spend money. It's entertainment and times are tight for a lot of people. I feel bad that people are budgeting to buy my books. I'm like, you shouldn't have to. But at the same time,
we need
it
them.
shows that they're invested and that they value it, and that really touches my heart. Like I really can't get over the fact that people will do that.
Mm.
Like it literally can't get over it. Like
Okay.
every month, at the end
Mm.
of the month, I'm
Like,
trying to tell people to stop buying privilege. Like, please don't spend money now. Wait till next month, because it's a big chunk of money and it's all going to go down the drain in 3 days, and they're still doing it.
no.
Yeah, it's hard, but it's beautiful at the same time. It's very strange. It's a very bittersweet kind of experience.
Mm. You should open up a Patreon because the money that you readers spend on her, most of it goes to web novel and it goes to the platforms like Play Store and App Store. So the author only gets like, I don't know, 40% after taxes and everything comes in. Yeah. If she opens a Patreon and you want to support her, go there instead. Because it
Well,
is.
I'll tell you, not that you're not wrong, but having been in traditional publishing, the percentages that I earn on web novel
It's
are as
more.
good or better as any I've earned anywhere. The payment comes faster. They've earned me, or they're at least the potential is there to earn me more money than I've earned before.
Mm.
um, I, having come out of two other forms of publishing, cannot speak highly enough of web novel in this area. And I talk to authors a lot who are convinced that they're going to take their web novel book and put it on Amazon and become millionaires. And I'm like, it's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen for not just because the audience is different and they won't buy it, but because the way Amazon works, they're making money off of you
Yes.
before you make a dime.
Yes.
And that was why I stopped self-publishing, was because I refused to be an income source for a publisher myself. Like, no, I'm a content creator. If you want to earn money, you put my stuff out there and other people pay for it. You don't tell me that I have to pay you to get my work out there. And so I had literally last year given up. I was not going to publish anymore because Amazon is a monster about this
Yes.
stuff. And then Islinda got in touch with, sorry, I think it was Chloe. Anyway, somebody got in touch with me and said, please come over and do this over here. And I went in very skeptical, thinking it was going to be another similar situation where I was going to have to pay. And I was just like, I'm not going to pay. And they're like, no, you're not going to pay. Nobody pays. We pay you. Um, and I have not spent a dime. And that to me is, I'm gobsmacked that I can have a platform where they will market me
Mm.
to readers, and I can meet readers and I can talk to readers. I mean, don't get me wrong, web novel has its issues. Every platform does, every publisher does. But in terms of the amount of
Attention.
percentage, the royalty percentage in web novel is higher than my traditional contract was. The money that I'm making, or at least potentially going to be making in the next few months, is higher than I ever made off my traditional contracts for the same period of time. And then and on top of that, I've given so much more freedom, so much more freedom. I mean, I thought traditional wasn't bad. I never felt stifled, but web novel is like, what do you want to do? Do that. Like, it's just, I can just do it. And Islinda will give me advice and she'll give me help, and the marketing team will get me readers. Like, I'm not saying they're perfect. There's problems there, but there's problems in every publisher. And for me and my experience, on balance, web novel is streets ahead of the others that I've worked with before now.
Okay. Okay. There is one from Elizabeth Fuller from YouTube. Say, oh my gosh, there are so many hashtag blame citrus moments in this interview. I'm so happy.
So, um, what happened? And this is, I want you guys to know, anybody who's not in my Discord or anybody who is but doesn't talk a lot, I want you to know this. I am listening. When readers are talking to me in comments or in my chats about what's going on in a book and what's going on with characters, I'm listening. And sometimes I'm changing where the book is going based on what readers are telling me. And a couple months ago, all I had in my Discord was what I call the OG readers. So these were wonderful women who've been with Beast basically since it started, and been invested and encouraging to me right from the beginning. And Citrus came in and asked me, are Reth and Elia using sex to avoid their problems? And the funny thing was, just like it was either that day or the day before, I had been writing a love scene. And I had that thought for myself. I was like, this is kind of going on. Neither of them is like consciously doing it, but there is this element of, it's so much more fun and so much more enjoyable to engage physically, that they're kind of brushing over some of the stuff that's going on and not dealing with it, and then they end up getting into problems because of it. And so I was like, okay, so I need to stop doing that, because if readers are noticing that, like, it's going to get old, right? and and very soon after that, I had a plot point that I had to figure out. And so I went into the Discord and I said, I want you all to know that they're going to have a fight and it's going to be bad and you have to blame Citrus. I said, well, what I said is, I blame Citrus. I blame Citrus because she was the one who asked me the question. And I thought, when I got to this point, I thought, well, I can't have them love their way out of this. They need to face it and fight through it. And I said, so I blame Citrus. And I made blame Citrus a hashtag. And it's become a thing. And we use it all the time now. And Citrus is so wonderful to let us blame her for everything. So you can come into my Discord if you're not in there. And if you're having a bad day, you can blame Citrus. And she'll come on and she'll say, yes, absolutely, throw it at me. And it's just fun. It's very cleansing. That's what I tell people. It's very cathartic. You can come in and just get rid of all your problems, just put them all on Citrus's shoulders and she'll take them. So yeah, I'm gonna have t-shirts made, I think.
Oh, you should definitely do a Patreon for that. Blame Citrus. It's like, yeah, it's all the ideas, to move on. Like, you should personal brand as well, because you said you're an
Yeah.
unknown author. You're currently on an unknown author small channel, but from here, maybe YouTube recommends would do this like 4 years later, and then you'll be something. So by then, you need to have all your merchandises ready. Blame Citrus, okay?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Right. So I see many of
I
you are
don't think Citrus
hyped.
is here tonight.
Aw. Well, it's okay. We can always have the
That
playback.
yes.
Yeah, I just hope YouTube's okay. Right, in any case, so I see all of you guys in the chat are very hyped. That was a very long self introduction, but it was nevertheless interesting. Let's find out. Falling in love with the King of Beasts. Do you want me to go through the synopsis? Because I honestly have not read this before, so I can't say what it is. Mm. So, by far, would you like to elaborate a little bit more about these? I saw it's a werewolf thing. It has a werewolf tag.
So for it's a shapeshifters
Mm?
book.
Mm?
All of it, it's a fantasy world where it says humans whose ancient hearts pulse with the blood of animals. So the idea was that at some point way back in history, there had been in some semi-magical, semi-supernatural way a combining of humans and animals. And what had developed out of that was a race of humans that are human. They're very obviously human, but they have the ability to take a beast form, what they call a beast form. And I'm not going to explain to you exactly how that happens because that's coming up later this summer. That's all going to get explained what exactly occurs when that happens. But the point is they're all shapeshifters and there's tribes within the anima. They're called anima. There's tribes within the anima and the humans within each tribe take on certain cultural or philosophical ways of thinking and acting that relate to the animal that they're descended from. So there's horses, which are the equines, and there's wolves, which are the lupines, and there's lions that are the leonine. There's a whole bunch of them. There's more that we're going to meet later in the year, but the werewolf is a tag on web novel for there's a lot of already a solid readership, excuse me, for werewolf books. And I didn't know because I've literally never read a werewolf book
Haha.
that there's like really established lore
Yes, yes,
about how
yes.
these things work.
Hmm.
All I knew is that I've always had a deep interest in animals and animal behavior. And so I just took characteristics of these animals that I knew and where it was useful, turned them into human beings that either thought or acted in ways that related to the animal. But the wolves in my story are the villains, and they are not traditional werewolves and they're not traditional lichens, which I've also been educated on since. So I feel bad for people who come to the book expecting a traditional werewolf story because they're not going to get one. But the synopsis does tell them that the werewolves are the villain. So hopefully they come in at least a little bit open minded that that's not who they're going to be following as the heroes. But yeah, apparently my lore is all off. but people are liking it, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with it.
Mm. There are people in the chat are asking, besides this, we want to see bears. Will there be elephants? Yeah. Will there be elephants?
Um, I don't I don't plan on pachyderms, Boston lover. Mainly because the way that I've kind of set up how the humans work, I did think about it, but I think it would just be really hard. And I also probably don't know enough about elephants to write them well. There are going to be bears. There's also going to be um, I'm toying. There's boars, like pigs, possibly coming this summer, and possibly bulls as well. And I think it was Cardlin, somebody said to me, "Do you realize you're picking all animals that start with B?" And I was like, "Oh no," because I wasn't doing it on purpose. Um, so yeah, so there are going to be other animals coming up, but I have to be really careful because I don't want to start introducing things just for the fun of it. Like they have to have an active reason to be there. And the bears have a very active reason to be there, and they're going to be there very soon.
Mm.
The others are in my outline that hasn't been written yet, but we'll see if they actually make it to the page. You guys will have to keep reading to find out.
Stay
Tune in next
tuned.
time.
You're doing very well. This is exactly what we need in live stream selling. Okay. So the hypnosis starts here. So is it Elia? Did I pronounce this right? Elia?
I pronounce her Elia,
Elia. Okay.
but apparently I do it wrong. But that's how I've always pronounced it in my head, is Elia.
It's okay. The writer is always right. You pronounced it as Elia. It should be Elia. Okay. Right. So Elia is a poor university student until the night she's taken to the world of anima, ruled by humans whose ancient hearts pulse with the blood of animals. There, she's forced into a battle to the death. Though when Elia survives, she refuses to kill her final opponent, the king, must either kill Elia himself or take her as his mate. Okay? So Reth, Reth? Is it Reth?
Yes.
Wrath. Okay. Wrath, the brutal king of the beast with the blood of lions, shocks everyone when he chooses the weak human, Ilia, to become his queen. He promises her every comfort of his wealth and position, but he is clear. She will not warm his bed. He chose her to defeat those that were trying to corner him into blending his leonine, is it leonine?
Yeah.
Leonine line with
Leonine. Yeah.
leonine line with the wolves. Ilya needs the help of the anima to become stronger and rule them well, but the vengeful wolves see only a weak human that brought them shame. As Ilya and Wrath grew closer, the wolves are determined to destroy her. Will Wrath or Ilya admit their feelings for each other in time to fight for the kingdom and their lives against the villainous wolf tribe, or will the wolves kill Ilya and steal the throne? Okay, so below this, I'm assuming this is an excerpt from one of your chapters. Is this the one?
Well, if you wanted
This is
just
just
a passage, that was the one I was going to read. But if you wanted a full chapter, I was actually going to read the first chapter because it introduces the characters.
Let's do
Um,
both.
so, but we've been on a long time, so I am more than happy. This is a slightly abridged excerpt, but I'm more than happy to read that or have you read it either way, um, so that we can move along because I feel bad.
No, it's okay. I don't have a time limit for streams. It's meant for guests to enjoy themselves. Right, so anyways, your readers are not like dwindling either. The numbers are just climbing. What is wrong with you guys? Yeah, but like,
They're
you know.
wonderful. They're the best readers on web novel.
Yeah, which is, yeah, it's rare, it's really really rare to have like really good readers who are non-toxic. Mm. Okay, so would you like to
I
do
am
the
so blessed.
definitely. Would you like
Sorry?
to do the honors of reading your excerpt?
Sure. He stalked towards her, chin low so the shadows cast by his hard jaw cut across the thick fur collar of his vest. His hair had fallen over his eyes in the scuffle, so he peered at her through it like a lion in the grass. With each step, his graceful, rolling gait reminded her of of a predator stalking its prey. Despite the forest floor littered in twigs and leaves, he didn't make a sound. Who are you? Elia stammered, backing away, her hands up. He met her step for step until she came up hard against the tree behind her, and didn't stop until he loomed over her. So his shoulders so broad, his chest made a wall in front of her. She could feel the heat rising off his skin in the cool night air. I am the Leonin king. His voice was a dark, husky gravel. Behind him, a chorus of wheezes, howls, and chirps of agreement rose from the people watching. And you are? Elia, she breathed. Elia, he growled, leaning in closer, bringing with him the scent of pine and rain and the musk of something distinctly male. I am Reth. He said the name with a strange guttural roll in his throat. I am the king of beasts. I'm the clan leader, and I'm Alpha of Wildwood. Several snarls rose from the crowds behind him then, but he ignored them. Elia swallowed as he leaned in until the scruff of his jaw rasped her cheek. I am the king, he said, and you will be my mate. The forest behind him erupted. That's it.
Wow. This is very caveman domination. You will be my mate. No room for negotiations. Next.
Yes, and the readers who are here and have been in the book will know and tell you that the synopsis actually isn't entirely accurate to the way the story pans out, because the synopsis was written before I had written the whole sort of opening chapters, and I really need to go back and change that. But yes, in this scene, he's very dominant and very he's controlling the entire all of the tribes all at once. So he's making himself known. Um, but he actually, in his heart, is a much softer, and I think that's why people love him, because he's very thoughtful um, and considerate towards her.
Aww.
And they have a conversation soon after this where he shows her that, what he was doing here was really about demonstrating to everybody else what was about to happen, because he knew that if there was any sort of wavering in him, that they would reject her and she would be killed. So he was actually, in doing this, he was protecting her.
Aww, big softy. We all need a guy like Wrath.
He's a teddy bear,
Ah,
except a lion
lion.
version of a teddy bear. Really
Okay.
strong masculine teddy bear.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, I think Citrus is here somewhere on YouTube. Is it?
Blame Citrus.
Yeah, Citrus is here.
Oh, is she on YouTube?
Yeah, I think so.
Hi, Citrus.
Hello, Citrus. We love you. Blame Citrus. Yes, that's right. All right.
Everybody got to hear the Blame Citrus story.
It's gonna be lit in a few years. Okay, so they're saying we need the t-shirts. You gotta make the t-shirts. Someone offered to make you a t-shirt.
I would love for somebody to make me a t-shirt because I have no idea how to do that stuff.
Okay, so you heard it. Whoever that was, I can't find the name now. All right, so this is chapter 1, The Nightmare. So would you like to take it away?
You want? Sure. Sorry, I am
Do you need water?
not prepared. Here we
Oh,
go.
water break.
Yeah, actually, I probably should just very quickly.
Yeah, because talking for a long time,
Sorry
especially
if you.
when you read, it's kind of, yeah, it's taxing on the throat, especially if you try to make voices sounding like a professional DJ. Yeah, that kind of hurts. Oh,
Okay.
Boston. Boston is the
Chat.
one.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Chapter 1, The Nightmare. Elia blinked a few times, but the scene before her of a forest of twisted trees under an indigo moonlit sky was impossible, so she closed her eyes and tried to wake up. She'd been at the patrons' ball in Henderson House at the university, and she'd been drinking. This must be a drunk dream. She opened her eyes again, but now her view was blocked by the face of a woman with a very thin, angular face, tilted sideways, staring at her from just a few inches away. Elia gasped and tried to push herself back, away from the strange woman, her hands scrabbling on the dirt. She very definitely wasn't at the university anymore, and she wasn't at home in bed either. This was no dream. Where am I? The woman knelt in the dirt in front of her, very graceful as she clasped her hands. Her face was kind, but her features very sharp. You're in Wildwood, she said in a high voice and tipped her head to the side again, as if Elia should know where she was. Look around you, child. Meet your destiny. My what? The woman extended her hand, the long bell like sleeves of her thick robe swinging like a bird's wing as she opened her hand to the forest around them, and Elia turned and gasped, scrambling to her feet. She was in an almost perfectly round clearing, surrounded by trees whose branches twisted and twined together. The trees were silhouetted in moonlight so bright it made everything look silver and cast shadows on the dirt and grass. Shadows of 100 people or more stood shoulder to shoulder between the trees. The sacrifice is frightened, a shaky voice whispered behind her and was immediately shushed by others. What? It's only the truth. Lane, shut your mouth or we'll put you back into the nursery herd and you'll have to wait another year for your coming out. The angry bleat, deeper. Oh, excuse me, I read that wrong. Deeper, a man's voice, came from the same direction. It's been a while since I've been in this chapter.
It's okay.
Elia
Someone.
whirled to see where the voice came from, but the trees were thicker behind her, so she found only the silent figures, strangers, staring at her. What is this? Where am I? How did I get here? Your questions are normal, of course, but really quite pointless. The ritual is about to begin. You would do better to make peace with your god if you have one, the woman in front of her said. Tell me where I am and who are these people? Her voice shook, and so did her body. The woman sighed and fluffed her thick robe. If you wish to spend your final moments in the search for truth, very well, but know your questions will only bring more questions. You're in Wildwood. You were brought here as a sacrifice, one who fights for the pleasure of the king. It is a rare honor, though I know you were not raised in your world to appreciate it. You will likely not survive the night, but your death is not in vain. It will assure the survival of the anima. You should take great pride in it. Elia's mouth dropped open. A sacrifice? What king? Who the hell are you people? The woman sighed and made a small clucking noise. You see, I did tell you the questions would only bring more questions. Hear me, then prepare yourself. When the drums begin to beat, the others will enter and the fighting will begin. Show yourself worthy for the choosing. Die with honor. Die? I'm not fighting anyone. You do not have a choice. The woman ruffled the robe again. If you do not fight, you will be slain. It is not an honorable death. Stop talking to me about dying. I'm not dying. This is a dream or a hallucination or something. No, the woman said firmly and stepped close. So close, Elia put her hands up to stop her in case this fighting was about to begin. Her fingers brushed the woman's robe. It wasn't fur. After all, it was feathers. Soft, tiny feathers. But Elia didn't have time to consider what that meant before the woman continued, her eyes fixed on Elia's with a fierce light. This is not a dream. You are no longer in your world, and the chances of you ever returning to it dim with every moment you refuse to fight. You must accept that your life has been altered and meet the challenge before you, or you will die, Elia. How do you know my name? You were chosen for this, selected by a deep rhythmic boom rang between the trees, and the crowd shifted, whispering. The woman cut off and turned, staring in the direction of the moonlight. He comes, she said breathlessly, and the other sacrifices also. Give your life to please him, and you will be honored by the tribes. Then she bowed to Elia, muttered a few words under her breath, and with a snap of her robe, disappeared to join the circle under the trees. Gaping, Elia turned in the direction of the drums. Between the two largest trees, directly under the full moon, more than a dozen people walked slowly, their steps taken in time with the drum's beat. There didn't seem to be lines or order to how the people were gathered, but they moved in clusters, all of them walking before a tall figure still deep in the dark under the more distant trees, a drummer at his elbow keeping the time, and several behind him in a line, their instruments echoing in the chill night air. As the first of the people at the front emerged from the shadows, and she could finally see them in the silver light, Elia covered her mouth with her hands. They were all women. They were all painted, their bodies dotted and lined in swipes of some kind of paint that glowed white in the moonlight, making patterns on them that resembled spots, stripes, feathers, and fur. But other than the paint, they were all completely naked. Elia looked in every direction, searching wildly for a way out, an escape from this nightmare. Who were these people, and what were they going to do? But everywhere she turned, she met eyes fixed on her, sometimes teeth bared, and a wall of bodies that did not move to give her ground. Then the drums stopped. Elia turned on her heel as the man who was clearly this king the woman had spoken of finally stepped out of the darkness and into the moonlit clearing. Head and shoulders taller than anyone near him, and a chest so broad he seemed to threaten the trees. He stepped into the circle, bringing with him an air of violence only barely leashed, a sense of sheer animal power. His hair fell into his eyes, and the thick fur collar of his vest that looked like a massive lion's mane framed his angular face and light eyes. Under the high-collared vest that fell to sweep around his knees, he wore leather pants and no shirt. His so sorry. I really struggle with this line.
It's
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
Take your time.
Um,
Laugh it out. Laugh it out.
you can write this stuff, but saying it out loud is embarrassing.
Would you like me to
Excuse
take
me.
over?
His biceps, chest, and abdomen were oiled and shining in the moonlight. No, that's the line that I struggle with. We got
Okay.
through it. We're all just gonna laugh and move on.
Okay.
Mm. He was perhaps the most carnal man Elia had ever laid eyes on, and he scanned the clearing as if it and everyone within it belonged to him. There was a rustle in the trees, and Elia realized everyone watching had bowed to him, including the naked women who had spaced themselves around the circle, each of them facing him with their heads bowed. Everyone, that is, except Elia. She swallowed hard as they all straightened, the watchers in the trees leaning in, breathless, and waiting for him to speak. But Elia froze, because as he raised his great head and scanned the clearing, his eyes locked on her, and for a split second, the light of recognition burned in them. There was a crystal moment during which their gazes held, and Elia would have sworn he called her name, yet his lips didn't move. She blinked and sucked in a breath, but his face remained a flat mask. Then he dragged his gaze to her left, and as he continued to scan the crowd, opened his mouth and began to speak.
Yay!
That's it.
Congratulations! Yay, we made it through the first chapter. Right, so someone on YouTube, I think it's Judy. Judy said that it hits different when an author reads it. So I was telling her, I was like, writers usually know how to interpret their works best. So the live reading that you get from an author versus the reading you get from an audiobook, it's not gonna be the same. It's gonna be better because the writer knows best, especially all the cackling.
Well, I hope so. It's actually really hard to replicate what I hear in my head. So it's yeah, it's not 100%, but yeah, it's
So
strange.
it should be like the writer be the director, and then you get the professional voice reader to, read it out and like, no, 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 this has to be higher, this has to be faster, this has to be more dramatic, basically.
Yeah. I always get a little bit self-conscious when I'm reading my own stuff. So I
Why?
probably don't do as good of a job. I don't know, it's really weird. Like I would happily hand my work to anybody to read, but reading it out loud, it lands differently and I get very self-conscious, especially when it comes to things like oiled chests.
Oh, everybody is like, the oil, the oil. Yeah, we know, we see the
Yeah.
chat.
Reth looks wonderful in oil, I'd just like to say.
uh, oh, someone's talking about the grunting? Where?
I don't think he grunted in that one, right?
How?
He because they're animal roots,
Mm-hmm.
they often do or say things or make sounds. So he will, over the course of the book, he has a mating call, he has growls, he has different noises, he whines at one point. Um, and it's not intended to be truly animal, but when I hear it in my head, it's like it's as if a human is making the noise and there's an animal inside them making it at the same time. I don't know how to put that into a story, so I don't write it that way, but that's what I hear.
It's
It's the
okay.
same like if a man sat there and went, you know, but as he does that, there's a beast inside him that actually growls.
Your readers are living for this concept. His noises are hot in my head. I love all the sounds he makes. Love his huffs. He's adorable when he whines. You should just check the comments going on.
This is great.
Oh my gosh.
Expecting some grunting. Maybe Luca, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's
I don't
sexy.
make the noises myself. I did hear, I can't remember, maybe you ladies who are in the chat will know. Somebody told me that their husband had started growling at them or roaring at them as a joke
What?
because of reading, like I guess somebody was reading the book and the husband saw it or she described it to him or something. I'm not sure. But she said my husband is teasing me now by roaring at me because she was enjoying the book, which I thought was hilarious and really cool. But I cannot remember who it was. Somebody told me that, and
That
that just makes my day when I
that
hear stuff like that.
This super sweet is like couple goals right there.
Yeah,
You're you're
totally.
you're not just a writer right now. You are playing Cupid.
Parent. Well, I hope so. I don't want to do the opposite.
That's true.
Never abandon a real man for a man in a book. That's all I want to say.
Depends, but yeah, okay.
Well, yeah. With
Mm,
it, within, never abandon a good man, a good real man, for a man in a book, because the
that
men in the books get to be pretty perfect.
that is true. Oh my god, the husbands get to blame citrus too.
Yes,
Okay, welcome
that's awesome.
husbands. The husbands should come. Like this should be a club for like couple therapy or something. It's like they read this now, growl this now, read this line.
My brain could take that in some really bad directions.
It's okay. We are forgiven for all directions we go. We are writers. Come on, like, yeah, we write all sorts of things, okay, readers? Don't be alarmed by the ideas that we can have. It's just pure
Yes,
research. If you see our history browser and you see us looking at ways to bury a body, don't be alarmed. We're not
it's
planning murders.
research.
Yes, it's research, just pure research. And if I think of things like, infinitely regenerating bones to use bones as materials because you're a skeleton, like you pluck it from your rib cage, I'm not psycho. I'm not a sadist. It's just research. It's just writing. Yeah. And
Very
then
true.
if you
Very
are a
true.
romance writer and you write adult scenes and the first thing that comes to your mind when you see a new character, how does a zombie's dick work? Yeah, that kind of thing happens as well. It's
I have to
research.
say that writing romance is excellent for my love life
Aw.
because I'm forever my husband. I have an awesome husband, and the pandemic has been a remarkable blessing because we're both home all the time, which we've not had that before. And so there's a lot more access to research. Just putting it out there. There's a lot more, windows of opportunity for research as a romance writer.
Is it a practical
So
one?
yeah, yeah, we have to. Honey, how do we do that one? Wait, what does that look like? No, I'm dead serious. Like it's hilarious, but I joke about it, but it's actually been really fun for me. And or the other cute thing that happens is sometimes my husband will say something, like he'll say something really nice or really cute or really funny, and then he ruins it by going, "Are you going to put it in your book? You should put that in your book." And I'm like, then it's not between us anymore. He's like, you should definitely write that into your book. He's like, the ladies will like that.
Mm.
And so
Is it-
then I'm starting to go, so wait, did you say it because you meant it? Or did you say it because you want me to put it in a book?
Either way, it
But
works.
yeah,
It's like as a writer, it's very romantic. You can immortalize the people you like in your works.
yes. Yes. And I have to say, and people get kind of creeped out by this, but I hope you'll understand what I mean. The best parts of my heroes are based on my father and my husband. Um, Neither of them is perfect. and neither of them is without, issues, but they're very, very good men, and not enough women. I got to grow up in the home of a man who's a good man and a strong man. Um, and and I and I've done a lot of counseling and stuff with women, and one of the things that I always wanted to do with my fiction was show women what healthy love looks like, because a lot of women that I deal with don't actually understand that a man can be strong and also tender and very loving. Their experience with men is sort of one extreme or the other. And as I've gotten older, I've understood what a blessing it was that I grew up, with a father who was both very strong, but also very affectionate and very tender and very compassionate. And then I ended up marrying a man who's the same, very strong, but has this very soft side and shows it to me. And I get to see more of it than other people do. So, even though all of my heroes are different, they all kind of pull in these different elements of either my father or my husband or both. And then I give them whatever other issues and angst that they need to have. But um, yeah, I always hope that women will read my heroes and be able to see real people in them. Like, I want women to know you can be loved by a man. Like, this whole thing we have in our culture right now about alpha men being toxic. Those are not alpha men, those are assholes. Alpha men who are strong men, who are not afraid to be strong, who are just naturally strong men, also are use their powers for good. That's how I'd like to put it. They use their powers for good. So,
Mm.
men and women, we can be very strong, but not hurt others with it. We can use it instead to protect those who aren't as strong as we are. And I'm very, very grateful that I grew up in the house that I did and with the people. And I have an extended family that is this way. The men in my family are alpha men, almost all of them, but they are all they love women. They absolutely adore women. And, my mother, my grandmother, my sister, like, I got to grow up seeing women being treated like they were important and special by men who other people listened to. And I'm really glad that I did. And that's what I always kind of want to portray, is that you can be strong, male or female, because the women are strong too. You can be strong and not be destructive with it. Sorry,
Someone
I'm going a
said,
little deep.
no, it's okay. That's how I told you is like, I'm not very tall, and if I don't find a good man in this life, I'm gonna kick God's ass when I see him, and he said, "You talk to him for me." Yeah. So, and then
Yes.
someone is also
I'll have a word
saying,
with him.
yeah. So someone is also saying like I have no idea how to relate to your relationship advices here, because all the people I've dated, and I don't have a good dating history. It's all the people who, I don't know, is it because of my looks or something? Like, people want to conquer me like some kind of prize because I'm feisty, and not just feisty. I have a strong personality with a never aging face. Does that, I don't know.
Oh,
So like
nice.
I wrote a book based on one of my exes, and after I wrote that and we broke up, I feel like turning it into a murder series, but it was a romance book, so I kind of couldn't. That was, yeah. I'm envious that you can have people to model your characters after, and then add in pecs and biceps and hair that fall over their eyes with a chest full of oil.
Yes.
That's like
Yes,
perfect.
I would very much like to be very clear that my heroes are not based physically on the men in my family. Although my husband has a great body, I have to say I'm very blessed that way. He's very, very fit. He has the V. We always used to talk when I was younger. We always used to talk about the guys that have the V, where that line starts above their hips and
Mm-hmm.
goes down, and it's how hot that is. And my husband has developed that in his older years, and I'm just like, honey, it's really nice. And I am not, by the way, I would also like to point out, I'm a large woman, and I'm not a hot woman. And I have, to my knowledge, a better sex life than most people I know. So I just like to encourage all of you that you don't have to be the world's version of beautiful to have a fulfilling sex life.
You don't have to be a
Again, I'm
Kim
going too deep. I'm
Kardashian.
sorry.
No, it's okay. This is life
You don't have to be
experience.
hot. You just have to be with the right person.
To the right person, you are always hot.
I am
Yes.
not bragging, Boston lover. I am encouraging people to women to see themselves as valuable regardless of how they appear on the outside because I know far and I used to myself far too many women who put their value in how they look. And men do it too, don't get me wrong. Like we get trained to do it, right? But I'm just saying there are men out there who will not pick a woman based on how she looks. They will pick a woman based on the relationship they have with her, and those are the ones you should find. I'll stop giving relationship advice that nobody asked for.
I'm starting to feel lonely. Yeah. Right.
No, the opposite. Be encouraged. They're out there. You can find them, and they will love you because you have something that they need, even if you don't look the way the world tells you that you should.
The world doesn't tell me anything. I'm a vampire.
PB Mom is saying hot bod guys actually love us fluffy ladies. My
Mm-hmm.
husband has always been attractive, and he's not. He's never been super soft, but he's also not. I'm a lot larger than he is. But yeah, chubby sex is great. We're in an adult channel, right?
Yes, yes, my YouTube is not for children. Don't worry about it. After Pupa's live interview, I figured that none of these author interviews are gonna stay PG, so I moved it up.
Would you did forever pupa?
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh, I need to go find that one.
He was here. He
I
was the
love pupa.
first. He was the first. And he was so embarrassed to talk about his own R rated scenes and read it. So I'm just like, yeah, should you, you know? Yeah. After that, I kind of moved up my channel to permanently no children. It was children
Yes.
before this. It didn't remain children. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I'm glad. I will stop giving relationship advice now, I promise.
Yeah, everybody else on YouTube, William is like, I need the V now. The guys are like, I want the V's now, and the ladies are like, yeah, it's all the V's. PB Mama, they are
Mm,
all around. My ex has the V, but then I started feeding him, and he started missing his abs, but he kept the V. How?
yeah. Wait, what?
You
Isn't
can
the V
do
usually
that?
the first thing to go?
Yeah, it's harder to keep than the abs.
I
What?
would have thought he has a good physiology, apparently.
Interesting. Okay, chat. Is there any questions you have for our dear author, Amy? Amy.
Amy. You were right, it's Amy.
Because it's spelled AI, so I thought I Suji and Amy, but Amy.
Apparently it's the French spelling. It has cursed me my whole I love it. Like I like it. I think it looks pretty. But no one ever knows how to spell it. Even when I spell it out for them, they always either reverse the I and the M, or they reverse an I and an E, or they only give me one E. Like nobody gets it right. It's hilarious.
Mm. Any questions, folks, for Amy Lynn? Do you
Do I
ever
ever
sleep?
sleep? I'll be honest with you, in the last few months, I'm averaging about 6 hours a night, but that's not because I'm not in bed. Um, it's the web novel thing took off pretty quickly when I put out Beast. And even though it's not a huge book by web novel standards, it became obvious that I needed to pursue it. And like I said, it was a book that got developed and started in 2 days. It was at the same time that my husband had a surgery and needed full time care, and because he couldn't use one arm. Um, and so this whole year, and I was still working part time then. I still work very part time now. Um, so what's happened is it's like my body, I got so wound up with so many things to do that now my brain's like, we don't shut off. So I lay in bed at night reading my own books to edit them, the writing I've done during the day. And then I fall asleep, but I'll wake up at like 5 or 6 and actually never 6. It's usually 5. Um, and and my brain's like, time to get started, even though I want to sleep. So I generally getting about 6 or 6.5 hours a night, which isn't really enough.
Mm,
But I love what I'm doing, so it's kind of hard because it's also fun, you know.
mm.
So yeah, it's weird.
It's the adrenaline rush before you crash.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. How far have you written out on Beast and Prince? Okay, so Beast is oh, Beast is completed to the end of this month, and about I don't know, 3 or 4 days into June. But the reason normally I'm a lot further ahead than that. The reason it's a little slower right now is because I'm plotting out volume 2, which is going to be very plot heavy. And um, I have, I've just had a lot of work to do that's not involved in actually writing out chapters. Um, Prince is also completed to the end of May. Uh, and
Mm.
and I am it's a really tricky one because Prince was supposed to be my Sparity uh, Awards book.
Ah.
But my editor is asking me to move ahead faster on the Beast sequel because we had already started talking about writing one, but it wasn't going to be coming out till later in the year. She wants me to get it out earlier and enter it for Sparity. So the I'm trying to find a way to balance. I'm already writing that one as well. So I'm trying to find a way to balance so that I don't have to drop Prince, but it may not get updated every day. I'm not really sure yet.
Mm.
It's all a little bit up in the air until we see how Prince is doing at the end of this month.
Mm. Okay, there's a question from
Should take-
Elizabeth Fuller. When did you realize you wanted to be a writer?
So true story. I knew I wanted to be a writer when I was like 7. But I spent my whole childhood being told that it was not a realistic career. And because I had a talent for writing that my teachers encouraged when I was at school, um, what I ended up doing was being told as a teen that I should take that talent and turn it into something commercial. So I studied communications and was going to be a journalist. But I never finished my degree. And this is all back in the early 90s because I'm old. Um, so I always dabbled with writing for fun. But when I was in college, I wrote, I don't know, probably 2/3 of a book. When I was about 12, I tried to write a sci-fi that is still an idea that I may still write someday because it's actually a good one. But I never really understood how to do it, and I never had the discipline to learn the craft of writing. And when I was in the early mid 2000s, it's before I had my son, um, it became very clear to me. Um, I'm just gonna put it out there. It became very clear to me that God had made me to be a writer, and I hadn't done it, and I hadn't pursued it, and I needed to do that, but I didn't know how. And it wasn't until 2009 that I suddenly I had dabbled in a few things, but nothing had really stuck. And I started to have an idea and I started to write it. And I wrote it and I wrote it and I wrote it. And it never got published, but it got me on the track of studying writing. Somebody's asked if I did any college courses or anything, not for creative writing. So the study that I've done since 2009 has all been self-directed. But oh yes, and Luca is my savior because she's older than me and she's in my Discord. So I'm not the oldest person in the chat today. Thank you, Lord. Um, um, I have in my older years, I started in my 30s, well into my 30s, started studying creative writing and the craft of fiction. I started developing the thick skin that you need to let people critique your work and tell you what's wrong with it so you can get better.
Mm.
If any of you are writers, I want to encourage you that the only way to consistently improve is to allow people to tell you what's wrong. And they'll do it. Some people will do it poorly, and you shouldn't work with those people. But good writers who know what they're about will just tell you what the problems are without making it about you're a loser. And when you go back and work on it and it gets better, you realize, oh my gosh, that is like the best gift anyone could have given me. So I was very lucky to get accepted into a critique group that included writers who were traditionally published and had agents, and at the time I did not. And they basically taught me how to write. We did critiques for each other, and they basically taught me how to write. And those skills have served me ever since. So yeah, that's how we got where we are. No, it's never too late. It's never too late to pursue your dreams.
I've known of some web novel
I nearly gave
authors.
up last year,
What?
and then Islinda.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Iceland is a lifesaver.
Islinda. I dedicated. If you look at Beast, if you go into the book on web novel and you look at the very very first page, the page that comes up that just has the title and the cover image on it, I've dedicated that book to Islinda, because had she not sat me down essentially and said, you can do this and you can do it well and people need to read what you're doing, I would not be here and you would not be here, and none of this would be happening, because I literally had basically given up. I thought my writing was just going to be something that I would do for myself. I didn't think I
Mm,
was ever going to do it commercially
that's,
again.
that's true. Like I also had similar experiences. So that time I won Ringdom's writing competition because I was scouted by them, and then I got so depressed because I did a sellout work. Just basically doing something commercial writing that wasn't me because I'm a very niche author. So yeah, Islinda also cheered me up from there. Says that writing is not your problem. It's just that you haven't found your audiences. So yeah, that Islinda is an angel.
And Beast wouldn't exist without her,
Mm,
because she was the one who said, I know, she knew. She was like, look, I know your husband's about to have surgery. She's like, I know this is terrible timing, but I really think you should try this. So it was meant to be.
mm. Islinda won't tell you to go ahead with something that she doesn't think will work. She's very frank, she knows the market, and she tells you if it's gonna work and she thinks it has a high potential of succeeding, she'll tell you to go ahead with it. Like for mine, she said that the idea was original, it was good, but it was not meant for web novel. That's why I moved out. So yeah, some of my works are here and some of my works are not here for that very reason.
Mm.
So yeah. Hey, yes, you are late. Yes, you are late, but it's still ongoing. If you have any questions for Aimee, you can let us know so she can address your questions so far. Right, so somebody was saying, Judy was saying, you are consistent with your chapter updates and still manage to respond to your readers' comments. Just curious, how many readers' comments do you get, like in a day?
This is going to sound like I'm flexing, and I'm not. I actually don't know, because what I do is often I'm writing, but not always. But whenever I'm doing a task, I will set myself the goal to finish something. And then my reward for finishing it is to go into the chapter comments on my book and answer them. So usually I'm only answering two or three at a time. Sometimes it's a big chunk. It depends a little bit on what's going on in the books. Obviously, right now, because we are getting to the end of the Dangerous CEO book, so there's a lot happening. And we're also getting to the end of Beast's first volume, and there's a lot happening. So I'm getting a lot more comments than usual, but I
Hmm.
love it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. I am concerned if the book continues to grow. I have been thinking lately, I'm I'm probably not going to be able. I respond. Oh, this is something, you guys who are listening, who read. Listen, you got to understand. If I don't reply to the comment, the vast majority of the time, it's because um, web novels filters have filtered it out, and they are so sensitive. They will filter out poop. They will filter out damn. They will filter
Mm.
out hell. They will filter out WTH. Like really, and then any actual swears, and then also a lot of like adopted swears that we have where you replace it with an asterisk or something like that. They pick up all of those.
Yeah.
So often I'll see your comment in the back end of the thing, but I can't reply to it. And I feel bad because some of those comments are awesome and hilarious, and I want to tell people so bad that they're awesome and hilarious, but I can't always get in. Sometimes I can. Sometimes if I'm on the computer, it'll let me reply, but other times it won't.
Oh,
So if I don't
mhm.
answer a comment, that's probably why right now.
It depends on your
But I
book's
do
rating.
wonder,
The filter
book
is
what?
the filter is based on your book's rating. So if your book is not above 17, a lot of these things get fallen through.
Oh, okay. Well, mine's set on restricted. At least I think it is. It better be. Um, I don't know. I'll check that. That's good to know. Thank you. Because
That's
I
what.
couldn't understand. In my Discord, there's a
Mm.
joke now. Whenever somebody slips something through, when they figure out either a format or a way of changing letters that lets something through, I'll go into the Discord and I'm like, here, this is a way you can swear if you want to. Because it's so ridiculous the things it filters out. And it will let them, you can post a GIF that
Mm.
has like all out swearing in it, like
Yes.
massive swears, and
Yes.
that's fine. But don't put sh asterisk t because then it'll filter it out. Anyway, I am concerned if the book continues to grow, which it appears to be doing, that I won't be able to answer all the comments anymore.
You do.
And I just want to give everybody a heads up. I'm gonna give it a shot, but at some point it will become too much. So
Mm.
I'll just do what I can.
You can appoint moderators if you want in the back end of Inkstone.
Web novel?
Yes, for your book, you can
Oh,
appoint moderators to help you out with it.
huh. That's good to know. Thank you.
I'm an old author.
I read
Okay.
all of them. If even if I don't respond, I read all of them.
Mm. So you can get some of the hypers to actually help you out. So you first gotta have a web novel account in order to be a moderator. So yeah, if you have someone you like, then you can appoint them on the back end. So it's on Inkstone. You go to Inkstone and then you go to promote. Okay, maybe if you are watching my Twitch or YouTube right now, I can just demonstrate real quick. So this is for you guys. This is how an author's backend looks like. Okay, so for me, it's a lot of things. Anyway, so this is your workspace. You go to your workspace. These are my recents anyway. So you go here. There's one that's up here that's called promote. You click on this. Okay, and then you can assign moderators to the book here. So can you see this? So it's like privilege, and then there is like interactions,
Yeah.
announcements, and stuff like that. You can appoint your moderators somewhere. I think it's here. So if you don't know anything, there's the guide over here. So moderator is over here under interactions. Okay,
Oh.
here. So you can actually add a moderator. So you choose the work that you want. So for example, I don't know. Well, anyways, so you add one, and then you input the reader's nickname, input the reader's ID, and then if they will see something that appears on their backend, you can ask them to check, and then it's here. So what they can do is they can I don't know, they can you can choose certain actions. I can't remember if I have any. Let me check for ball of nope.
It's okay. No, that's
Yeah.
really just knowing where it is. I'll be
Mm.
able to do that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then the fucked up thing is they don't have this thing on the arrow. They have this go back link on the promote. So that always confuses me. But yeah, that's one way you can actually do this. Mm.
Awesome. Thank you. Um, uh, oh shoot, I lost it. I was gonna, somebody asked a question. Oh, why is Dane and Leela's story ending? There's two reasons for that. Um, I have left myself wiggle room to do a sequel, but that story is so plot heavy in terms of the intensity of what happens in Dane's life, um, that it's difficult to sustain it financially. Um, and then also Beast has taken off in such a great way that it's basically it's commercial decisions. Dane and Leela, I got their story to a place where they were happy, and I didn't I had intended to get them to that place and take the summer off and then come back and write a sequel. But when I got them there, I didn't want to stop them being there. That's the truth. I was so happy that they were happy, and I was like, I can't do this to them again. I might, though. I'll be really honest with you. I intentionally gave myself room to do it. And I'm not going to tell you how, but y'all, when you get there, you can tell me if you figure it out. Um, but for now, it felt so good to have Dane in a place where he was at peace that I went, this is good. Like, let's do this. So yeah, it might come back, but probably not. Dangerous is deliciously intense. Thank you. It is the first mystery, so to speak, or thriller. Somebody described it as a psychological thriller, and it's
Mm.
the first one of those that I've written. Um, and I'm really surprised that it came off. People really love him, and I love that they love him because I love him. If you're in my Discord or if you end up joining my Discord, every so often I'll write little scenes where I talk to my characters. And I had a little scene with Dane that I wrote a couple weeks ago after I had finished his story. And I hadn't gotten to write on it for a couple weeks. And I missed him. It was so, it sounds so stupid to say that. But I wrote that scene because I was literally as a writer grieving the loss of spending time with these characters. So I wrote myself a little scene where I got to talk with Dane by myself and tell him that I missed him and give him a hug.
Yeah, it's like they leave
It was
so much.
therapeutic for me.
They leave so much in your head that it's so sad when they're
Hmm.
gone. Especially if you end a series, you cry buckets. You're gonna be so attached to
Yeah.
the series that you work on web novel. You're gonna cry buckets. It's not the same as ending a novel in a traditional or self-published way. It's not the same. I can guarantee you that.
No. Yeah, well, there's so much more material, first of all. Um, like volume one of Beast in a word count equivalent is more than two books
Mm.
traditionally.
Mm.
Um, and it doesn't feel like it because it moves very quickly.
That's
But
right.
I had somebody asked me about, I wonder if web novel books are actually as long because the chapters are short. And I
That's
was
right.
like, is that they're actually longer? Um, and again, this was all stuff that I had to learn that I didn't know. But serialization it's an even longer form of storytelling than a
That's right.
novel.
That's right. I can show you briefly. This is Ball of Nothing. It's at 3 million views, 11K corrections. It's ended on my end, but not for the readers. And I think it's 1 point something M. Like, do you ever imagine yourself writing over 1 million words? Like, yeah, 1.05 M, guys. This is no joke. So, your author Amy might be writing 1 million words itself. Okay, just by doing serializations like this. I have a
That's
feeling.
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's only been here for like 2 years, and I had hiatus in between. I only have 4 seasons. But even if you talk about 4 seasons, it's like what, 600 over chapters? 1 million words. Have you ever imagined doing this as a traditionally published author or a self published author? I don't think I have.
No. And I'll tell you, I've written on average 200,000 words for the last 5 months,
Mm,
each month,
yeah,
200,000 words.
it's
And
something.
I can remember a few years ago in traditional stuff writing 100,000 words in a month and thinking that was insane. Like I was messaging my author friends going, "You will not believe what I just did in April." And they're like, "What?" Like that was crazy. And now I'm doing somewhere between 40 and 50,000 words a week.
Mm, mm.
Um it yeah, it never, ever, ever would have imagined if anybody had. I would have said, you can't do it. It can't be done. But it can, apparently.
You can. So as you are trained with web novel now, I have a feeling once you move out of this, you'll be doing like one book a month. Like if you ever go back to
Well,
self
I
publishing
don't
and
know. I don't know that I will ever go back to traditional. If I can continue to make a living this way, this is way more fun. Way more
mm,
fun being able to talk to people while they're reading. Way more fun being able to like have the story not have this quite so structured, quite so narrow
mm.
field because you can't unless you're doing high fantasy, you can't do a 250,000 word book. No one will read it. But you can do it with serialization. So why not? I have a lot of words.
That is
as you
true.
can see now that we're
You,
an hour and 40 minutes in.
we are. ちょっと. It's true.
Yeah, it's okay. Things are fine on this end.
No,
But yeah, I'm very sorry. I have a lot of words.
no,
I'm a
no,
wordy
no.
word
No.
person.
It's good. It's better than me having to host someone who doesn't talk on an interview, which I have actually done this before, and I'm like, the host in me is stressed, the MC in me is stressed. But yeah, you are fun to have around. It's like I don't have to do anything. Your readers are loving you and your existence. I am a background character,
You're a what do you call it? A vehicle.
a
Vehicle
vehicle.
for our love.
I'm like the bridge.
You've brought us all together.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
I'm
there
the
you go.
glue, the
The
glue.
bridge to our love.
It's been a fun session, really.
Is
So
there
I.
No, I really appreciate you giving me the chance to do this because I love this stuff. Um, so yeah, thank you for asking me.
I did not have the courage. Actually, it was Void who, yeah, it was Void. It was
Oh,
not
did
me.
he? I assumed that he asked me because um he wasn't like he didn't know if you would want to do.
Oh no, the reason why I
I
did
thought that
that.
he was
No,
asking me to
no.
see if I would want to.
Yes, correct. It's like 2 weeks ago, on the 4th of May, Void was scheduled on here. So Void came from, was it True Dawn? I can't remember. I had so many
Oh
authors
yeah,
come.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was like Pupa, and then it was like Silly Milk or something. It was like Maomi. I can't remember. There was so many people. And then all of a sudden, after True Dawn, because we share the same editor, Bryce. And then after that, it was Grand Void. I think it was from Dawn or something like that. Or was it Sun Sky? I can't remember. And then after Void, it was like nobody scheduled. And Void is like, hey, I know a few people who might be interested to come on. Want me to ask? And I'm like, okay. And then he was like, want me to ask JKS? And I'm like, I don't think I'm ready for it, but sure if he agrees. And then JKS came on. And then after that, you replied after JKS. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll schedule JKS first, and then I'll schedule you like the following week. So after you, I'm kind of closed for author interview business, cause well, I have content that I want to do, but I currently have no time. So it will be on hiatus for a while because I also don't have a lot of network of awesome authors that I would like to invite on. So I don't really know a lot. Yeah. So after this, I might call on the authors who appeared before to, like, kind of talk a little bit about what they do best, something like that, like, more seminar-ish, Q&A-ish kind of things, tips and tricks kind of podcast for new authors and readers and whatnot. So yeah, I'm still thinking about what to do next for after your stream, because I wasn't expecting such great receptions. Like, you wouldn't believe it, but on JKS stream there was how many people? It was barely 20 people. 20 people? Yeah, about 20 people. So it's kind of like a similar
Well,
number to
did
what I'm
people not
seeing
know it
now.
was happening?
No, I think people did, but JKS might be a huge author. He doesn't have a really like strong community of loyal supporters. That's what I would say. It's sad. It's really sad.
I feel bad for him if that's the case because he's got such a huge audience, just like, you know, reading his work. Like, but I have to say, he's a sweet guy. Like, from the day I got into the contracted chat, which was when he was at his height, coming into Spirity. I shouldn't say that. It was leading up to that. But my point is what I always tell people, because I have traditionally published friends who are big authors, like millionaire authors, and nobody knows that I'm friends with them because the only reason we're friends is because most of the people that make relationships with them make it to use it.
Mm,
And I've always been hyper aware of that. So I don't talk to people about them and they appreciate that. And it's why we've been able to form relationships. But I have, through being connected with them, been in contact with other very big name authors who turn out to be complete jerks and very self centered and just not fun people to be around. And I
mm,
swore after I went to a conference in Las Vegas a few years ago, and I just saw some terrible behavior from adult women. And I just went, I do not ever want to be a part of this. So, everybody's listening. You can be my witnesses. I've said to many, many people, if I ever get truly successful and I turn into a jerk, you all have permission to face slap me over and over again until I stop doing it, because I don't appreciate people who think that somehow getting money makes them important. And that's one thing I have to say about JKS. He's hugely, hugely successful. And yet he'll come into the author chat and answer questions for nobodies. Like, people will be talking and he'll just let him know, give him the answers. I've DM'd him about he totally random stuff, just like, hey, what did you do with this? And he'll be like, oh, this is how I did it. He's very accessible and very friendly, and I always appreciate people like that who, even when they're successful, they don't act like they're too good for everybody else.
Okay, we have the video evidence of Amy's words that we can slap her if she ever becomes swollen
Yeah.
headed. Yes, it is
Yes.
recorded.
We should make that into a t-shirt as well.
Yeah.
We can have on the front, it can say, am I being a cow? And on the back, it can say, if so, slap me. Am I being a
Okay.
wolf? Am I being a wolf? If so, slap me. That's how we can
Mm.
relate it to the beast.
Very good. Yes, it is recorded, Judy. Okay, so JKS himself, he's humble, so that is one thing. Like when Void tells me that JKS is down for the interview, I was freaking out. I was like, "Are you okay with small authors like me inviting big authors like you and siphoning off your fame and whatnot?" Like I was straightforward, man. I was like, yeah, usually people will approach big people with ulterior motives. And I don't say that I don't have ulterior motives by inviting all these people onto my small channel. It's like asking you to subscribe and stuff like that. Yeah, but I don't do that until like I know the stream is gonna end and stuff like that. So if you want to support, you support. If you don't want to support, it's fine. Yeah, so I was actually surprised. Like many authors, some of them are big authors that came on to my YouTube interviews and stuff like that. They're okay with it, and I gained subscribers from that who converted their religion to Aitsujism, basically simping for my voice for some reasons. But anyways, I don't think you should. Yeah, so I was surprised, and I kind of
That's
regretted
awesome.
not reaching out to people like JK as well because I didn't think that they were suffering from like all those success and stuff until I found out that they were actually younger than me. I was like, I was like, yeah, you probably should.
That helps.
Yeah. And I was like, so shocked when he told me that, have you seen all these people? I'm like, oh my god, these toxic bitches are like, you should just call assholes when they are assholes. And JKS is so nice. He doesn't even do that. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, nice people usually don't, you know, get a lot of good things in life. Like, you should, fight back a little bit. He's like, but, they are paying readers. And I'm like, yeah, but they are paying assholes. I don't know. I'm angry for him, but
Yeah.
he's just being depressed over it and asking himself, should I quit writing? And I'm like, well, if you
Mm.
have money and stuff and you don't think you need this, then you should just ignore it. And because you have money, you don't have to do 3 or 4 chapters a day. You can just do one. It's like the readers are not your
Yeah.
bosses, even though they claim to be your bosses just because they pay for your books. It's like if they truly are your bosses, they need to give you medical leaves, annual leaves, they need to contribute to your taxes and stuff like this. They don't. Who are
Are y'all
they?
listening?
Who are they to tell you that? I'm sorry, I'm just taking it out right now because it's live stream and it came to the topic of JKS and I'm like heated over it. Like I have no time to schedule a live stream to basically roast all these toxic people that I want to. But yeah, it's like a dedicated stream to all the people who are bad in this world, you know? Yeah, but anyways. Any other questions before we
Oh, I
wrap
love
up?
you. That's awesome.
Please talk to God and ask Him to give me a good guy for like the rest of my life. Because I just broke up
I will
with
do that.
a friend that I'm
I will do
dating.
that.
Yeah, because we were dating. We were like friends for
Oh,
10
I'm
years.
sorry.
And I was like, yeah, maybe we should try dating. And then we dated. And I was like, you know what? You are going to be stressed out with my existence if we continue. So I broke up and we became friends again. So that was that. So I'm like single again. Hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
That is
don't
hard.
don't be. It's like I'm
I do
not.
not want to go back to those days.
I'm not sad about breaking up. I'm like, in fact, I'm thankful because I have my freedom back to be me. Like when I was in a relationship, it was always like, oh, I have to cater time for this person now because I'm dating. Now it's like the, heh, what dating? I have time. I have more time right now. I don't have to go
This
out.
is an aside that gets worse when you get married, not better.
Oh,
Oh
but
yeah, that was one thing that was a real eye opener for me when I got married was realizing I now have to involve this other person in every single decision of my life. And it's a real adjustment and it's a hard one for some people. It was hard for us. We went
mm,
through hell that first year.
oh, okay. I know who is
Yeah,
my
Ming Luca
consultant.
says, Destiny, that the creator has the creator is what we call in the Beast book.
Mm.
He believes in the creator. They all believe in the creator as a omniscient and omnipotent God. And she said the creator has your perfect man out there. And I would agree with that statement.
Well, I mean, I have a
Somebody
backup
out there is
plan.
destined for you.
I hope, but I
Oh,
have a
really?
backup plan. I was like, if I can't, I'll just, design a fur allergy cure and get myself like 12 cats. I'll be happy with that as well.
I have true story. I have a best friend that I've had since I was born. Well, actually, since she was born, she's a little bit younger than me.
Mm.
And we made an agreement that if we both reached 40 without being married, we would live together and become cat ladies. But I got married.
Oh,
So,
oh,
so I said to her, so now if I ever get widowed, if we ever get widowed, now we'll be old widow cat ladies together.
still a promise. Still very good. Ah, oh my god, it's nearing two
Yeah.
hours. Wow, this is the by far the most relaxing stream
I'm
I've
so
ever
sorry.
had. No, no, don't be. It was fun. It's like the most relaxing stream I've ever had, and your viewers are still going strong. Wow. All right,
Well,
so
y'all can meet me in Discord.
yeah,
I'll be over there
they
in a few
want
minutes.
they want like a scheduled weekly kind of talk to the author on voice chat kind of thing on Discord. That's what I saw earlier.
Yeah.
Mm. So okay, for
Yeah.
everyone else, before I end my stream, this is Destiny Ice, which is very very tiny small section. 1 minute of your time, please. Okay, so if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet and you would like to see more content like a song parody for writers, yeah, do just subscribe, and like, you can unsubscribe if you hate me after that. It's fine. And this is my tiny section of web novel where I'm currently doing a few things. So I write BL on top of male lead stuff. So yeah, if you are a fan of those kind of things, I do comedy best. And non-serious stuff. So yeah, please consider subscribing and like picking out any of these books to do. I don't know, whatever. So yeah, that's all for my very short introduction thing. So with that,
That's
I is there any other questions? Wait, what is the chat saying?
it's fine. They're being sweet. I will go over to Discord when we get off here, but you're gonna have to give me about 5 minutes to go to the bathroom and make sure my boys are still alive first.
Okay. All right. So that's all for the stream. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys when we see you guys. Bye bye.